Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are here for another slime video. And there will be slime gameplay, but I will definitely not be talking about slime or anything to do with what's going on the screen. So this is the only time I'm going to actually talk about it. I told people in an earlier video, probably a couple weeks ago, that I attempted to do a Determination to Prosper team against the Inferno 3 Primal Demon stage, and it looked kind of like this. I did take out, I think, Rieger for, or one, I took out someone for Tempest Elite Gobta, but it took a long time, and I mean a long time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some gameplay up of that run, and I'm going to talk about the most nonsensical things that have happened in my life that people may or may not find entertaining. And I'm doing that for a reason, that I'm trying to gauge opinions. So let's stop talking about slime. Let's talk about some really funny, weird, stupid things. So, when I was younger, I was not a great child. Let's put it that way. I was kind of an asshole. And I still kind of am an asshole. I've just learned when and where to be an asshole. Kind of. Actually, now I kind of lie about that. I'm still sometimes an asshole out of pocket and for no reason, and I piss people off. I say some really wonky things sometimes at friend gatherings, and people just kind of look at me and be like, what? And they move on with their day. But when I was a child, I was a shit to my parents. I'm adopted, in case you didn't know that. And if you've seen, live streams of me, I'm Asian. I'm Korean. So shout out to Koreans, but not really, because I spent about 2-3 months in Korea when I was born, and then I was adopted and came over here and was the son of some Navy pilots. They flew aircraft for their Navy career. And in the beginning, it's all hunky dory. Kids love their parents, mommy and daddy, yay, yay, yay. But as I moved into my formative teenage years, things went a little downhill, and I hit that rebellious phase that everyone always gets to. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. If you are just exiting that rebellious phase, you probably know what I'm talking about. But it got to a point where, man, I would steal money. Would steal money out of my parents' wallets. We're getting real dark and personal here, just heads up, so you know this. And I was an asshole. I've been in, when I was in elementary, middle school, I was in detention like every week. I've been suspended twice. Like, I was a genuine grade A fucktard. And my parents at some point were like, we don't know how to handle you. We don't know how to really make this work anymore. And it was a very unfortunate thing. And looking back on it, obviously I have regrets because I can't just exist. Okay, looks like I did swap out Rieger for Gopta. Anyways, I don't believe I should have treated my parents that way, and no one should. But eventually, they had enough, and they're like, all right, you know what? We need a break. And they did that stereotypical thing of shipping me off to boot camp, which wasn't actually boot camp. It wasn't run by the military. But at the point, we lived in Ohio, and there is a program that has locations across the country, and I think in other countries, called Outward Bound. And I might edit the logo in the webpage. I don't know. I might not. I might just make this vocal only. But they sent me there, and it's billed on the website as team building and leadership building and such things. Yeah, the website looks like that now, but back in 2000 and... when was this? 2001? 2002? Some of you probably weren't even born yet by then. But they sent me there, and it was a location in Boston, Massachusetts. And I flew in with my mom, who I despised at the time, and we rode a ferry over to an island where they had their facility and all that. And then she left. The ferry took her back, and all the parents left, and what we were left with was an island that was divided in between boys and girls, so boys were on one side, girls were on the other. And it pretty much turned into what you can imagine a boot camp would be. Told us to dump all our stuff out, told us to pack all our bags, take all the stupid shit out. Cell phones, which were not super common at the time, but more things like CD players. These were common. MP3 players were just coming onto the scene. Yes, I know I'm old as dirt. Shut the fuck up. Stop laughing at me, because I know someone right now is laughing at me through their fucking screen that is as big as a CD player used to be. They told us all to pack that shit up, put it in a bag, and we wouldn't see it again for 2 weeks. Because this was a 2-week experience. And it was broken up into 2 separate locations. So for the first week, it was me and like 12 other kids, 12 other guys of around the same age of, I'd say 12 to 13 years old, somewhere around there. And then 2 counselors. And we would go hiking and backpacking and full on living in the forest of New Hampshire for a week straight, and we would just make our way around this probably predetermined route that they had obviously planned, but we didn't know. We didn't know where the fuck we were going. We took a bus there. They dropped us at the side of the road and said, "All right, put your packs on," because we had to build our packs. And since we're living in the forest for that entire time, it was you had a giant backpack with your sleeping bag, with your mats, with different tenting equipment. People were splitting out food rations and stuff. Like, this was like the camping military outdoor experience that some people really like. Some people do that for funsy onesies. We were not those kinds of kids. We were not. There was one kid there that really wanted to be there for the experience. And the rest of us were all kind of the same troubled teenagers who didn't like what they were doing, and the parents didn't know what to do, so they paid a butt ton of money to send us out here just to get a freaking week of peace and calm in their household. So, but we were dropped at the side of the road with our rucksacks, and we were told, okay, well, we're camping. Well, what do we do for showers? We'll find a river. What do we do for the bathroom? Take this roll of toilet paper, use one piece of it, and you got to dig a hole with the tent stake for you to crap in. And then once you're done crapping, you have to bury your crap and the toilet paper so it composts back into the earth and becomes one. So you don't just leave piles of crap everywhere. So that was fun. It's like, okay, what do we do for water? It's like, well, we'll get to a stream, and then you fill up your canteen, and we'll put some drops of iodine in it to there's a cleanse it, I guess, to detoxify it. Something to do with iodine. Whether or not that's true nowadays, if that works, sure. I don't know. This was 2001, 2002, somewhere around there. We did not know as 12-year-old boys. But that was the experience, and we would start walking, and we would walk for all day, and then we would stop for breaks and stop for snacks and stop for lunches, and when we were ready to camp up for the night, every night for this is a week, like this was a full 7-day experience just camping in the woods. And we would go further and further in. You don't like spiders? You better fucking deal with it. You don't like snakes? Well, we'll try and avoid them. You don't like the quiet and the owls hooting and birds and shit because you're creeped out? Too fucking bad. Too fucking bad. So, we hiked. And we hiked some more. Our feet hurt. We were told to bring very, very good walking shoes, hiking shoes, clothing that would be good for temperatures ranging from warm to cold in the New Hampshire hills / mountains, because that's still technically Appalachian mountain area, I think at the very end of it. But we walked, and then when we camped, we had to make a fire. We had to put up our tents up, and it was 3 guys to a tent, and then the counselors got their own tent. But we were told to sleep head to toe, because there were 3 of us in a tent. That was probably really only built for 2 people, but resources. So, but since we had been camping and walking all day, our feet smelled like absolute shit. So no one actually wanted to sleep with some other dude's nasty feet next to their face. So what everyone did is we just slept shoulder to shoulder, and it wasn't really a big deal. No one was worried about getting cooties from each other at that point. We all smelled like ass. We were sweaty, nasty, disgusting. And since we're out here for a week with no refrigeration, we didn't have a cooler or anything. We weren't hauling around some fucking Coleman grill and everything. It was very non-perishable items: trail mix, tuna fish, pita bread, non-perishable items that you could haul, but everyone has to haul that shit. So all the food rations got split out, and it was at the bottom of your pack because it was the heaviest. And then as you built your pack up, it would go lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter stuff. And then you'd have your tent and your sleeping bag, and you had to erect your tents and lay them out, lay the mats out, tie them up, rope them up. You had to learn how to do that, and it is a learning experience by all means. But a learning experience for people who are not willing to learn is not actually that. It is torture. Because again, we are all 12, 13-year-old kids who are pissy. We all have complexes about we're better than everyone, and we didn't want to be there. So listening to authority, not high on our priority list. Hiking in the outdoors, not on our priority list, but here we are. So we camped out. We found rivers. We bathed in it, washed our hair, quote unquote, with some dry shampoo and soap and stuff. And it was a very lucky commodity on like Wednesday or something that we were able to not only fill our water jugs up from a stream and you take a bath and kind of swim around, but also they brought out the powdered Gatorade mix, kids. That was the first like truly sweet thing that we had, and oh my god, it was like starving wolves on a dead carcass. We stole that shit so fast out of the counselor's bags and just made essentially just sugar water, because you're supposed to ration out like 2 tablespoons of powder, so you get the flavor, you get the taste of it, but it's not just literal sugar crystals and water. Yeah, we didn't listen to that. That powdered mix did not last very long, and it was supposed to last us the rest of the week. Oh well, too bad. So that was about Wednesday. So we've been hiking around. I don't remember the trail. I don't remember the path. I don't know if it was actually a well-used thing. But after that week was over, where we were camping in the woods, and we made it to our exit point, on which the last day, because for the first all the first 6 days of this adventure, the counselors would be leading us along and telling us where to go, and kind of leading this group of kids. But on the final day, 7th day, we had to make our way back, and they gave us the map and pointed at a point where we needed to go, and pointed at a point where we were, and there was the only thing they ever said that entire day was, "Make it here. Lead us here." And then they refused to speak the rest of the day because they want to see if we learned how to navigate and read a map, which most people can't do nowadays. People can't just open a fucking atlas and be like, "Oh, look, I need to go from XY Street to ZX Street." They can't really do that. They use Google Maps and GPS for that shit now because technology. That's a different thing. I grew up when the internet was just coming out. AOL Instant Messenger, like that kind of sound when you logged in, dial up. That's a different story. But so we did eventually, after much arguing. Also, there was a lot of arguing. There were no fist fights to be had that at least I was aware of. I didn't punch anybody on this week-long camping trip. Tensions were rough though. Can't, again, because we're angry 12-year-olds who don't want to be there in very uncomfortable places and sweaty and nasty and tired. Obviously, tempers are going to wear thin. But we did finally manage to make it to the pickup point where the bus would come and grab us and take us back to the harbor and take us back to the island. Oh, the island. It had a facility that looked like a school. We didn't do any learning there. But when we got there, it was no rest. It was, all right, you can actually now go take a real shower, use real shampoo and soap, wash your filthy, nasty fucking bodies because you smell like death, and there's only so many showers. And this isn't like a one group per session thing. There are multiple groups of kids who are on their own separate adventures, who come in and come out of the islands. So sometimes those facilities are in use currently, and we only have a certain amount of time to take showers. So what ended up happening is half of us went to the boys' showers and half of us went to the girl showers, and then we just had to post lookouts, which, yeah, I don't think that would fly nowadays, but that's what we had to do. So we were taking showers in the girl showers. Fun fact, they don't look any different, at least not on that island. There was always a myth when I was growing up that the girls' bathrooms had sofa lounges and hidey-tidy mirrors and nice commodities, and the guys' bathrooms were shit on the walls. Yeah, it's not actually true. Most of the time, girls' restrooms are actually worse. And I say that coming from the restaurant industry. So I would just take my word for granted on that one. If you have any female friends that you can ask and to confirm that, be my guest. But after we got done showering, we had to unpack our bags, take out all the stuff that was done, and all the food scraps left over, refill it with new food scraps, and then the real, true adventure began. I'm gonna make a cut right here. Hold on. So we made a cut. If you have enjoyed this story thus far, I said in the very beginning that there's a reason for this. And this is actually because I secretly made a second channel months ago. I think last year actually, where I would just tell stories. It'd be like a story time channel, not gacha focused, not really gaming focused. It would just be me talking about things that happened during my life, which this is one of those topics. But I never actually did anything with that channel. It has like 6 subscribers, which I think are all my mods. But I never told anybody about it. So I wanted to kind of do this as a stepping stone. Like, would people enjoy non-gacha content of me just talking about my life and what life was like growing up in the 90s, because that is so not familiar for, I would say, most of my current audience. So if you have made it to the halfway point of the video and you have heard this section, let me know what you guys think. Would you watch this content if I were to just make story time? If I were to actually do that, I would actually edit and I would put images and I would do the whole thing to be a real YouTuber, right? Not gacha content focus where all I had to do is put gameplay up and monotone it. But let me know, because I'm interested. I made the logo, I paid for the logo and everything. I have the domain for YouTube. It's mine. I just haven't done anything with it. So just, let me know if you enjoy this or not. And if you don't, you can tell me you didn't, and I'm not going to be upset. That's why I'm putting this out instead of just being like, hey, second channel, look at this shit, and then being horribly depressed when no one watches it. Let's go back to the actual story, though. Okay, so picking up, the first half of the adventure is done. That is the camping adventure. Because remember, this is a 2-week thing, and we have completed 1 week of that. It's now time to start the second week. And it's not more camping in the woods in a different state. No. This is much more fun. So after we had showered, after we had repacked our bags full of food and stuff and cleaned our sleeping bags and all that because it was dirty and nasty from the woods, we were told to report to the beach of the island, the beachhead. And there was a dock there with some boats. And when I say boats, I don't mean like a 30-foot yacht. I don't mean like a fishing boat. I mean like a rowing/sailing boat. Like there were oars in that motherfucker. And there was also a mast to rig a sail. And we looked at our counselors because they were with us for the entire thing. And they're like, all right, this is Captain something, Captain Smith. I'm going to call him that because I can't remember his name. And we're going to go sailing for a week. And we're like, for a week? What? How do we do that? Like maybe I'll put a picture of some kind of boat that would resemble this. It's like, how are we doing this? We can't sleep anywhere because the only flat areas for us to put anything down is the actual benches where we row like we're fucking Vikings in the early ages. It's like, okay, well, obviously you put your bags down with your feet down below, and then when it's time to sleep, you simply put the oars across the boat so that it becomes a floor, and then you put your mats down, and then you put your sleeping bags on top of the mats. So you're sleeping on top of the oars, on top of the seats that we're sitting on the water, and we're not touching land. We are going to anchor ourselves in the Boston Harbor, and we're going to row and sail our happy asses around for a week straight. We just kind of looked at him, and I think one guy threw something at him. I kid you not. I think someone actually threw something at him. But we're like, but what about the, like, what what are we gonna sleep under? We don't have room for tents. And it's like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna teach you how to make some knots, and we're gonna rig up this tarp that you can hang over two of the oars that are gonna stand up. It will create a kind of false ceiling tent thing that will cover you. But otherwise, you're sleeping on top of the mats, on top of the oars, and your sleeping bag underneath this tarp, and then outside of that tarp is just water. The Boston Harbor that leads into the Atlantic Ocean. So we met Captain Smith, and he was quite a. I think all the counselors. I don't know if they were actually like this in their real lives because I obviously didn't get to know them, but they were all quite happy. They were quite boisterous and high energy, which I think is what you have to be when you're trying to motivate a whole bunch of teenagers who don't want to fucking be there. At least he was a bit more realistic about it. Like, he grumbled under his breath a little bit when we wouldn't follow his directions. He would call us stupid. But yeah, he would be the captain of the boat, and he would sail us around. Like, he'd steer the rudder and everything, and all we kids would do is literally actual slave labor of rowing the boat with oars, and we'd have to row in stroke like we're on fucking College Crew or something like that. And we'd have to, every time we pull it up out of the water, we'd have to lift the oars and then turn them sideways so we create less drag, and then we put them back down and row, and we had to do it in sync, otherwise we wouldn't fucking go anywhere. Which, by the way, for the first, 3 hours, we didn't go anywhere because none of us could actually row in time with each other, so we didn't actually move forward, we just kind of floated in a circle, a lazy-ass circle. And eventually, we got it down. And by that, it was about 4 p.m. because we had to shower and we had to repack everything. And now it's late afternoon, getting to evening. And we're out in the water now. And he wasn't kidding when he said we're not going to touch land again. We were on the water. And the best part about this is you have to have a bathroom, right? In order for this to be a functioning camp and meet OSHA standards, you needed to have a bathroom ahead. If you had to pee, you did it off the edge, and you held on to one of the sail mast rigging things so you didn't fall off. And you had to wear a life jacket at all times, which for some people this gets really annoying because it's quite bulky. But you just hold on to that and just take a piss into the wind. And if it got on somebody, sorry, bro, I can't control the wind. But if you had to crap, it was at the front of the boat, where everyone's looking when they're rowing, because we're all sitting facing the same direction, because we're rowing backwards. So we have to look at the toilet, which is on the other side of the mast. So, like a foot wide mast pole. It's not really blocking your ass cheeks when you're sitting, but it's just like a porta potty. It's just a mini porta potty that you just take a dump in. And because no one wants to actually look at your ass while you're taking a dump, one guy had to just stand up there with his mat and just hold it, so he would block our view of the poor kid who had to go to the bathroom. And yeah, after a week, that certainly didn't smell very good, because again, we were living off pita bread and tuna fish and nuts and trail mix and shit like that. So did not smell good, highly embarrassing, because while our view is blocked on the backside, it means that literally the entire bay can see you taking a squat. And there ain't nothing you can do about it. And you just have to sit there with the wind on your face and the sun in your eyes, and you watch as other people on their yachts, on their nice boats, sail along. And I distinctly remember, and it's a core memory. I was the poor soul who was taking a dump, and some dude on his catamaran yacht comes sailing by, and he's suntanning on the top of it, and kind of looks over and then does a double take, and then does the whole lifts his sunglasses up to actually ensure that what he's seeing is real, and then he started pointing and fucking laughing at me as I was taking a dump on this rowing boat, and I screamed the most vulgar things at that guy. I got in so much trouble. I got in so much trouble for calling him just the worst names I could ever think of as a 12-year-old boy living in Ohio at the time, where not much to do except cornfields. Yeah, I was not allowed to speak the rest of that day. And I did not get any of the Gatorade powder. They withheld that. They also learned how to hide it a little better. They slept underneath it, so we couldn't lift the oars because they're sleeping on the oars. So yeah, that's a core memory that will stay with me for all of eternity. But we continue our rowing. And at the end of the day, they were not kidding. So the oars that were in water the entire day, we lift them up onto the boat and we lay them lengthwise across the boat, which now covers the seating spots and the baggage area where we would store our bags and other things. And it becomes a relatively flat area. And then we would have to rig up the tarp across the entirety of these 15 mats, because now we've got the 12 kids, the two counselors, and the Captain Smith guy to sleep on this, which I'm sure felt good for those people who were much older than us. And we had to rig that up, and God help you if it fell on you at the night. The good news is that since we're anchored and we're not moving anywhere and we're all sleeping, if you had to take a piss or you had to take a shit, it was dark, so no one could see you. Well, technically no one could see you, but there was always one person that knew you were up, because one person always had to stand watch to make sure that the anchor didn't fail, we weren't going to drift into something heavy and dangerous, and ships weren't going to hit us because we were quite small and tiny. So there was always one person standing watch, and we would do it in like 2-hour shifts or something, or an hour shift. I don't know. I can't remember how many shifts there were, but someone always had to wake up, so you'd have to crawl over everybody, kick them awake because we were not gentle about it, and be like, it's your turn. And then we would just get up and groggily sit there and be like, what the fuck are we doing? And this was not an age where cell phones were a thing, where I could play Slime or play Dokkan or break out my Steam Deck and be like, okay, well, let's play some Fortnite, I guess. No. Those things did not exist. Those things did not exist. They took our CD players and everything, so we couldn't even listen to some vintage Linkin Park or System of a Down or Puddle of Mud, things of that nature. We were just in the silence with our own thoughts, thinking about, God, I hate this fucking shit. How many more days is it? Oh, we have 5 more days. Great. And that's what we did for the entire week, is we just sailed around the harbor. Eventually, we did actually make land, and we did visit a lighthouse on the edge of where the Boston Harbor meets the Atlantic Ocean. But obviously, we're not built to go into the ocean, so we couldn't actually go out of the harbor. But we did go up to a lighthouse, which, to be fair, is kind of cool. But then we're back on the boat. Back on the boat. And then, after the week was up, where it was all that, it was everything I just described, it was just every day. And they would just make us row to different places in the bay, because it's quite large, and we're a very small boat. We finally made our way back to the island to celebrate our victory. We had survived 2 weeks of this grueling torture, which, to some people, they might like this. You might hear the story and be like, damn, that's fun. And to that I say, go fuck yourself. No, it's not. And 2, you can pay how much money it is to do that, and you can tell me later on how much you enjoyed that as an adult, or a sure adult. But once we got back to the island, we could celebrate with all the other groups who were also done at the same time. Because remember, there were multiple groups going back and forth on their own little adventures. Well, they had a giant barbecue the night before we left to celebrate. And they cooked us burgers and hot dogs and everything. Things that we did not have for the past 2 weeks because it was perishable items and we couldn't take them with us. Well, I don't think whoever was cooking knew how to cook burgers that well, because about 30 minutes after everyone ate, the line for the bathrooms and the porta potties was quite large. Everybody had the rumblies in their tummy. Thankfully, I only ate the hot dogs, because I saw that their burgers were kind of pink. Kind of pink, not seasoned. These were burgers for 12-year-old kids. I don't think they gave a shit. But, they gave a shit. They gave us shits. So I avoided that uncomfortable pleasure of waiting in line, trying to not crap my pants the night before we left. But what it did do, at the end of the day, it did make me appreciate my parents and where I lived more. Because we were not, by any means, poor. We were not filthy fucking rich. We were well off, though. So having to go from a well-off kind of scenario to scrounging in the woods, digging holes for my shit, very, very black and white kind of drastic changes. So I did appreciate my parents more at that point for about about a month, and then I went back to being an asshole again, and that didn't change until I moved to Washington and graduated high school, which was another was like so another 8 years or something like that. It was rough, but I also distinctly remember when my mom actually came to pick me up from the island. I cried because I was just happy to see someone that wasn't these fuckers in this island, and knew I was leaving. And then we went and stayed at a hotel, and I clogged the toilet because a lot of this food that they gave us wasn't, I would say, high in fiber. A lot of us were constipated, which is probably also why everyone had the shits on the last night. So I remember we were leaving, and I actually clogged the toilet with just TMI logs of shit. So as we were checking out of the hotel, we had to tell the front desk that the toilet's clogged in 302 or whatever room we were in, and then we just booked our ass out of there. Oh, so that was my childhood experience of Outward Bound. We have, I think, 2 minutes left in this clip. As you can see, we've killed Daggerel finally. It's been a very fun ride. Again, if you enjoyed this story and you enjoyed me telling you these stories and you would want more stories and with pictures and images and maybe some memes, definitely let me know in the comments. I'm going to post this. I expect not a lot of people to watch it because it's not slime related, but if you do watch it, thanks for listening to me. You can tell me if you enjoyed the story or not. Do you have any other, well, I don't think you will tell me any embarrassing stories, but I guess the question would be, would you think that experience was fun in the current day and age, knowing that all of your technology was going to be taken away? All of your normal creature comforts are not going to exist for that 2 weeks, and you were just stranded in the mountains on a boat that you had to row, get calluses on, take a shit on a head at the front of a boat, and have people laugh at you and point at you. Would you enjoy that experience? I'm guessing no, because nowadays people are even more snowflakey than even back then, which is saying something. But if you generally find this interesting, let me know. And I will dredge up some stories. Like, I have a list of topics. I've never, I don't think, showed them to anybody. But I have a list of topics. Like, there's a story of when I was grounded before they sent me to this. They put a credit card time machine on the computer screen. That's a fun story. So if you want to hear that, you let me know. Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, rental places for VHS tapes and N64 video games. There's a time that happened. I went to daycare. I made a whole lot of friends, and I made a whole lot of enemies. And it's just, man, realizing that I'm 34 years old, I've done a lot in life. So I have many stories to tell. But look at that. We have beaten Inferno 3 Primal Demon beatdown battle with the, I would say, Maribel team, I guess, more than anything else. And that's gonna do it for story time, guys. So again, let me know if you enjoyed it. But that's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.